you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. We'll begin our, well, first of all, we did have an executive session. We did not have any, all we did was talk about personnel issues. I want to get that out there before we begin our meeting. And as we begin our meeting for this evening, we're going to go into a reorganization meeting. So I'd like to call this to order. And on that note, I would like to open up nominations for the temporary reorganization president.
I nominate Pete Petrini.
Second.
Any other nominations for temporary reorg president? Alrighty, Pete. Take that mic, right in front of you. Want that?
You have your cheat sheet there?
Yeah. You can have that too. Thanks.
Put out all about
Yeah, all right. Appreciate it, sir. All right, so election of school board president. Nominations are open. Any nominations for school board president?
I'd like to nominate Tricia Blake, please.
Nominate Ron Cole.
So we have a nomination for Trish Blythe, Ron Cole. Anyone else? Nominations are closed. Need to vote for, start with Trish Blythe.
So you recommend both, and then everyone does a roll call, we do a roll call?
Do a roll call?
And they'll call us, yep.
Got a recommendation for Trish Blythe. So I need a motion.
So number 3 there, recommend that, one of the board, the other would be elected as the president, and then they'll do a roll call for that
So
motion.
we recommend Trish Blythe or Ron Cole be elected as 2025 President of the Sarah Area School District Board of Education. That's a recommendation. So we have a motion, we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. So for a roll call vote,
All right, we'll begin with Mrs. Agnew.
Mr. Cole.
Mr. Cole.
I'm just gonna come. Okay, I'll vote for myself. Yes, I'll myself.
Mrs. Blythe.
So would you abstain?
No, you had, you can
No,
vote.
you can vote.
You can vote for yourself or the other candidate, your choice.
I'll vote for myself then.
Mr. Hadlock.
Mr. Cole.
Mr. Hickey.
Mr. Cole.
Mrs. Kmetz.
Tricia?
Mr. Petrini.
Mr. Cole.
Mr. Roof.
Tricia.
Mr. Skirkon.
Tricia.
I've got 5 for Mr. Cole, 4 for Mrs. Blythe. 5 for 4 for Mrs. Blythe.
So congratulations, Mr. Cole. You are the President of the Sarah Area School Board for one more year. So you,
No, you continue.
I continue?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so the election for school board vice president. So nominations are open.
I nominate Pete Petrini.
Any other nominations for vice president?
I'll nominate Trish.
Catrini and Trish Blythe. Any other nominations for vice president? So I recommend that Catrini or Trish Blythe be elected as 2025 vice president for the Sarah Area School District Board of Education. Have a motion, have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Mr. Jacob.
Let's begin with Mrs. Blythe.
I'll vote for myself again.
Mr. Cole,
Mr. Petrini.
Mr. Hadlock,
Ms. Blythe?
Mr. Hickey,
Tricia?
Mrs. Kmetz,
Tricia?
Mr. Catrini,
I'll vote for myself.
Mr. Root,
Tricia?
Mr. Skirpon,
Tricia.
Mrs. Agnew.
Mr. Petrini.
3 to 6. Mrs. Blythe with the 6.
Congratulations, Mrs. Blythe.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, going down to item number 3, public comment. Again, the chair wishes to recognize any resident or taxpayer of the Sarah Area School District wishing to address the board about title programming or any other matter of concern or interest properly raised in a public session. If you would give your name and address and the subject of the content you will be addressing, it's requested that comments are kept to 3 minutes. Moreover, please note that comments relative to private student or employee matters should be directed to the superintendent outside of the meeting. On that note, any resident or taxpayer wishing to address the board at this time. Seeing there is none, we'll go down to the Redskin Spotlight Award, where tonight, Dr. Valencia, would you like to make this introduction?
I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
So I'm not sure that she was able to make it this evening, but Miss Chilson, one of our seniors, has won the Gold Award for Girl Scouts. And one of the project that she completed was to redo our drama, scene, dog sets, all of the attire the kids wear. She redid the entire thing that's in the lower level of the music department. And it's easier, it's organized, it's hours, she spent hours putting it together for our student body, and I'm sure that the drama club coming up is going to appreciate that greatly. If, since she was unable to make it tonight, I certainly will provide her with a certificate and take a picture at school, but I would like to invite her back to the January meeting, have a picture taken with the president of the board, and push that out there, so I would like to have that happen. Mrs. Ely, do you want to add to anything that I shared as well for Ms. Jilson?
I would just say that, she totally spearheaded had the idea. She spent 2 years, pretty much, planning it, carrying it out, executing it. And she was great about communicating with me when she was going to be in the building, because this was all after school hours. She would stay late, and she worked pretty independently. She had a couple of helpers down there, but she did a lot of work, in the short amount of hours that she was there over that 2-year span. She did a great job.
Right. And so if anybody has ever had a Girl Scout that went the whole way through to the Gold Award, or a Boy Scout that went the whole way through to an Eagle Scout Award, it is a lot of work to give back to the, to do a community project and give back to your school and or community in some way, form, or fashion, and she did an outstanding job. So we applaud her for her work, and we'll invite her to January. Maybe she's not back from Thanksgiving break yet, which is understandable since students were not in school today. Thank you, Mr. Cole. And I do not see Mrs. Rainford here, so we'll reschedule that special presentation as well.
Very good. Now down to the consent agenda. Item number 4, the school district board of directors meeting schedule for 2025. Item number 5, the consent agenda for the minutes to be approved from November 4th of 2024. Number 6, instruction. That would be a motion to approve conference requests as presented. Item B is the field trip request. Motion to approve field trip requests as presented. Letter C, district volunteers. Motion to approve the district volunteers as presented. Athletics and recreation, motion to approve the athletic recreation personnel as presented. Item number 8, finance, the transfers. Letter B, the treasurer's report as presented, which includes general fund, cafeteria, capital projects, and federal programs. Letter C, the Berkheimer tax report. Number 9, personnel, motion to approve district personnel requests as presented. And it looks like I ran out of consent agenda items, so we have a motion and a second on consent, on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We do have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Being there are none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Down to number 10, we're in the roll call agenda items. Letter A, the bills to be presented for December 2024. We have a motion and a second to pay the bills.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Questions or comments on the bills? Seeing there is none, I need a roll call. Mrs. Pacheco.
We'll begin with Mrs. Agnew.
Yes, except I abstain on number 3 and number 4, please.
Mrs. Black.
Yes.
Mr. Hadlock.
Yes.
Mr. Dickey.
Yes.
Mrs. Kmet.
Yes.
Mr. Petrini.
Yes.
Mr. Root.
Yes.
Mr. Skirpa.
Yes.
Mr. Cole.
I need to abstain on number 15. All righty, the discussion on number 11 is the board subcommittees. Inside your packet, you did receive a sheet with all the different committees. Once again, we would ever like to maybe possibly chair a committee, or also, if you want to move committees, we'd like to have you fill that out. And I guess we can do that right now, or should we wait?
No, we can do it now, sir, if you're comfortable doing it.
Any of, is it okay?
Just okay with what I'm on.
Okay.
I'm okay with
So-
what I'm doing.
I just wanted to share with the community that the board has 8 subcommittees, and those are all community committees, and they're available on our calendar for anybody that might like to attend them. The Athletics and Recreation Committee, Community Relations and Wellness, Finance Committee, we have a Personnel Committee, Building and Grounds, Curriculum and Instruction, Negotiations, and Technology. 2 of those are not community committee meetings, and those would be personnel negotiations. Okay. The other 6 are, and they're on our calendar for anyone in the community to attend those meetings. So is there any board member that wants to step off of the current committee that they're on?
You know, we can just give you a list later, right? We
Well, I'll
don't
just
need to
keep them the same if nobody wants to step off, unless you would tell me that
Somebody
you wanna.
might think about it later.
Yeah, if you wanna think about it and change, we can do that. You can send me an email. Is there anybody who currently chairs a committee that would like to change and give that up for someone else to chair? Okay, so if you think about it over the holidays and you wanna make a shift in that, we can adjust this in January. If I don't hear from anybody, I will have it printed and ready to go on the next agenda for approval from the full board. Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Delosio. High school principals report, Mrs. Ely, good evening.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Okay.
It's a little low, but we're good.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, tonight, I just want to thank Mrs. Romberger. I was hoping she'd be here tonight, for doing such great things this year with our Future Teachers of America group that we have. She has students scheduled throughout the whole entire school year to go over to Snyder Elementary weekly to help out in classrooms. This has been such a great opportunity for our high schoolers to see what being in a classroom is really like. I know they are extremely helpful to the teachers over there, and it's also really great for the younger students to have, kind of a mentor in their classroom each and every week. I wanted to say congratulations to our Red Quiz League team for taking first place in the Twin Tiers Quiz League. We are so proud of them. That team consists of Brooke Romig, Liam Berry, Declan Berry, and Mason Rucker. So congratulations to them. And congratulations to the following Northern Tier Career Center students for being named to the NTCC Student Recognition Program for the first quarter. It's a lengthy list. So in automotive mechanics, we have Carter Blyler and Robert Crossett. In pre-nursing 1, Carly Brown, Logan Howard, and Alexander Scott. In early childhood education, Jaden Dunbar and Alexis Robinson. In culinary, Ethan Fry. In information technology, Deegan Grover, Matthew Larson, Atreyu Latimer, Keandre LaPlenty, and Sean Morningstar. In pre-nursing 2, Kendra Hyatt and Trinity Johnson. In welding, we have Derek Manville. In HVAC, Shane Kegg. In diesel, Hunter Perkins. In cosmetology, Lexi Shannon, Molly Shaw, and Maslin Landuzer. And lastly, in building construction, Austin Stedge. So congratulations to all those students. That's all I've got.
Mrs. Ely, may I ask, how many teams participated in that, in the quiz?
We have 3 teams this year. Oh, overall,
Oh, yeah,
I'm
overall.
not positive. I didn't get that information from Mr. Wood, but I know we sent 3 teams.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not positive how many teams competed.
Mr. Howley?
Nothing really exciting to report, sir, sorry.
And a good Christmas and New Year.
You too.
Mrs. Morel?
Good evening. Coming your way is the newsletter that went home and also the sign up for the IR Federal Credit Union. They've offered students the opportunity K-6 to open a free account. They will also be there Friday mornings at the school to help facilitate that, so we're very thankful for them. We were also randomly selected in a drawing and won the mobile Oilfield Learning Unit. Came to school again for 5th and 6th grade. It was sponsored by Williams. The kids had a great time, so we were very fortunate to participate in that again. Congratulations to Girls on the Run that ran in the Turkey Trot this year. We've opened up that collaborative again. It was very successful, so we hope that they did well. Get your shopping bags out. Candy Cane Lane is going to open December 6th through the 12th. We're looking forward to that as we do every year. And Pictures with Santa will be on December 10th, so make sure you stay on that nice and not naughty list. And that's all that I have. Thank you very much.
Mrs. Morel, is the FBLA students going to be helping again with the Candy Cane Lane?
Yes, they'll be over with that as well. Yep, that'll be a fun day. I think we also have some classroom activities that are going to be going on as well. We'll make sure we get some
I
pictures
know
out
there's
for
great
that.
connections that happen during that event.
Yes, so we hope that they're gonna come to Candy Cane Lane this year as well too. They look forward to coming back and shopping, and the kids like to have an adult helper with them too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all right.
Mr. Handler, who's next?
Evening, everybody. Just 2 quick notes. Since we met last, we kicked off our science curriculum selection process with the team, and we're in the process of reaching out, getting samples and evaluating and starting that process. We hope to have product to the board by our April meeting. And as we start to look at next year's already, which next year already seems kind of crazy to me, being December. Today was our second flexible professional development day. And those have been, when you see them on the calendar next year, if we use them again, which I believe we will, we have so many mandated trainings, the majority, I'm talking the vast majority of our staff have all of those completed ahead of time, and it gives them a little bit of a longer break. So I've had nothing but positive comments from the staff on those, and it gives us a chance to kind of not have to cram and sit at a computer for 6 hours and do those mandated trainings. So I would encourage us to keep those. I think they've been a good addition and very good for staff morale as well. So that's it for me.
Not to put you on the spot.
But you're going to.
Or,
Go ahead. I know where you're going.
explain to the folks, Keystone College, they're losing their accreditation.
So, yes, I saw that on the news over the weekend. I don't know too many details yet. They are appealing it. You guys had already approved an agreement with Lackawanna, and Phil was supposed to be up here the day we got the snow, so he did not come. I will probably have that scheduled later this week or early next week, depending on his availability. And we're probably just gonna drift away from Keystone at this point.
I get that, but so our seniors that are currently,
I don't know yet, Pete.
you know what I mean, that have all these
Yep.
credits, what are they gonna do?
It's just like, I don't know about the students that are there that have already paid that,
They're gonna pay out of pocket.
taking a semester's worth of work, like,
Yeah.
they get 2 weeks left. So we're working on it.
So Dayton, do you know that if they took them during their junior year and the transcript has been completed and they have them in their hands, does that stand?
I would believe that would stand.
Okay.
I don't know how they would take that away
I thought
from
so.
them. So,
I guess
So
that's
it's
what I-
this year that's in question.
Right, so
Correct.
the seniors that haven't paid yet, should they?
Well, I'm going to suggest that we
that's a
hold.
good question,
I
Pete.
mean, right, that's the reality of it, right? So it's,
Yeah, I walked into Dr. Knowles this afternoon and I said, hey, listen, I just learned this over break. Like, I don't have answers yet, but we will get them and get them out to those teachers and those kids. I do think that if there's any question at all, and I can make the switch to Lackawanna, the first year we went with Keystone, we didn't do that until November. And because it's a year-long course for us, and it's a semester for the colleges, we probably could still swing that up to, like, maybe even by the semester break. Because we have no, like, semester classes for us. Ours are all year-long. So Phil has been pretty good to work with for Lackawanna.
partnership with Lackawanna, does that mean you might be able to offer an associate's degree program?
Possibly. That's one of the reasons we're sitting down. We're at the associate's level right now with number of credits,
Correct.
but it's not associate's degree. It's kind of a not hodgepodge, but a mix of different classes. And then I hesitate to drop Corning completely because those courses are free for those kids.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna drop one.
So,
More opportunities.
yeah.
But there's no time, Dayton, basically, where Keystone has said that they're probably able to talk, correct?
Yeah, they're gonna appeal the decision. I don't know what the time frame for that is, like when it happens, how long it takes.
Right.
That's a higher ed.
But Dayton's charge is the month of December to work through the process with Lackawanna so that we have that information in January when we start back in January. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Keep us posted. Appreciate it.
Yeah, that one's probably worth the email. When you learn, get an email out to the person.
Yeah, we'll put something out on our.
Senior parents.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Manfred.
Yep.
Dr. Teachin.
This is Fran Cora sends her apologies. She had something come up tonight, but she's hoping to make it up to you in January.
Thank you, Dr. Tejan. On to the PSBA report. I just want to let everyone know the fall edition of the PSBA School Leadership Bulletin is out, and it's focusing on AI involving schools. Inside there, I went through it a little bit the past couple of days. The policy 815.1 is in there, which is the use of generative or AI, and is included in this edition. So if you folks want to take a look at that. And also Dr. Michael Panza has a perspective on this, and he's very good. I heard him speak down at the conference back in October, and like I said, he's got some things that his district is doing with AI, so you might want to take a look at that, as well as some PSBA staff members on the pluses and minuses of using artificial intelligence. Also included in that edition is a survey of school board operations, so you might want to take a look at that as well. Other than that, that's about it from PSBA for as they wrap up the year down there. Onto the Career Center, as Mrs. Ely said, we have, believe it or not, with all the students that she had mentioned, we have almost 50% of our students that are on that list for on the honor roll list, I guess is that's what I think, for student recognition. And also we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 students that also have the highest GPA in the class. I might as well read these off. Jaden Dunbar, Haley Brown, Trinity Johnson, Molly Shaw, and Naslin Van Duzen in their respective fields. So I want to include them in that. But thank you for that report too, as well, Mrs. Ely. Want to make mention too that the course catalog for 25-26 was released. The Career Center tours begin the week of December 16th. 10th graders presentation coming up on January the 6th as needed. The results of the full occupational committee were released for program recommendations. I want to read a couple of them off to you if I could. A couple of things that they'll be looking at. Investigate purchasing the Susquehanna CTC's auto body equipment. Their program did close over there in Susquehanna County. Also adding a cosmetology adult education class, outdoor playground for gross motor and recess play for early childhood education, and also they're considering modular home construction in the building trade, among things. In fact, what I'll do is I'll have this sent out to you folks so you guys can take a look at that. Also, PS Bank, too many PS's around fit my report. PS Bank scholarships totaled $89,546 for items and equipment for 284 students down there. And that's a lot of equipment to help out for our students down there. So that's everything I have on the Northern Tier Career Center docket there. So Mrs. Agnew, last IU 17 report.
I think that, if anybody has any questions, comments on to it, otherwise that's pretty much what they've been up to. They keep us filled in on that stuff, and that's all.
Thank you. Committee reports. Any committee chair that would like to offer up a report this evening? Oh my goodness. What are we gonna do?
So the Community Relations Committee came together last Monday evening, and there were several of us around the table, and we stuffed bags full of cookies and put little thank you notes on them and delivered them to all the staff on Tuesday in their mailboxes to let them know that we're thankful for them, and hope they had a nice sweet treat. And thank you, Mrs. Kometz, for all the baking.
Any other committee reports? Well, in my board president's report, again, I'm back for another year. But one of the things that honestly I can say is this has been quite a challenging year for us all. We started out with possibly an outsourcing of our support staff. We had merger, we had teachers contract, and it was quite a year. And I want to take everyone from Mr. Hickey all the way down to Mr. Claypool and say thank you so much for everyone's service here on this board. And like I said, as 2026 rolls around, we'll have something else for tomorrow, I'm sure. So, but and also I want to also say how nice the holiday windows look downtown too. Our kids did a great job down there. Appreciate their painting and making things look festive down there for the holiday parade. All right, Dr. Delosio, you're up.
All right. So I do have my National Superintendent Certification Program report. I did a detailed report for the board, and I have a presentation I'm going to put up here in a few minutes. But I have a few other things I wanted to share. Back in the second week of November, the Comprehensive Planning Committee, Strategic Planning Committee came together and met. That's a group of stakeholders from board members to administration, teachers, support staff, community members, and parents that came together to be a part of that. Part of that process, we did the SWOT analysis, SWOT, and so that is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Strengths and weaknesses are our internal focus of what we need to work on, and opportunities and threats are those external components. And so we put together groups of individuals that come from the variety of stakeholders. So you have 4 different groups that work through this process. So the first thing they did was individually write down what they felt the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats were for our district. And then they came together as a group and wrote them all on chart paper and rotated around into these 4 groups. It took them a good 45 minutes. Then they had to go back to the first poster that they were on and work through the process and agree as a group to select 3 in some order. And then they rotated and selected more. So then we dropped it down to 2 per group, so we had 8 check marks by the end that we wanted to focus on. So I just wanted to share what the initial phase of this process. And the next thing we'll do is a needs assessment out to every stakeholder, every staff member, community members will receive links, high school students, board members, everyone will be able to participate. But I wanted to share the strengths that were noted, that were selected out of the 20 plus strengths that were listed on there, were that, the staff is connected to our kids, that we live in a tight-knit community. We are a small school with generally small class sizes. We are moving forward and we have a fresh start. And we have skilled and dedicated employees here at Sayre. Those were the 5 that came forward after they went through this process, which took about an hour. We were together for 90 minutes total, but that process took time. And we pushed items that were on the agenda to the next meeting because it was so meaningful to have those conversations. The weakness is the lower student enrollment, the declining enrollment that we've been facing the last couple of years. Scheduling. We dove a little deeper into that. Here at the high school, we have some singleton classes, and so it's hard for students to get into all the classes they may want to because we offer 1 physics class. And so depending on the scheduling in those processes. Scheduling also was talked about for special education and making sure that we had enough of staff to support all of our students. The third item was our outdated facilities. They would like to see some work done on our facilities. Resources of staffing, the number of staff that we have along with facilities. And then meeting students' needs, such as a school to work program and having enough of staff to provide interventions to our students. The opportunities that came to light after that full process was we need to look at the opportunity to have an ability to partner with local businesses and the large company right across the street from us. We have an opportunity to rebrand and redefine the district, the community, now that we've made the decision that we did in August, that we're going to remain our own entity. And so now they want to work on that rebranding and redefining, and we have a team that actually is working on that process. An opportunity for dual enrollment. Mr. Handrick is working on that as he spoke about that tonight, but we need to continue to dive deep. I mean, for our students, if they take all the courses available to them, could leave our system with 60 credits on a transcript right now. But that, that takes work and dedication to make that happen. The other opportunity is NTCC, and that really warmed my heart because being the superintendent of record right now and attending the JOC meeting that I attend, they have a lot of opportunities for our students, and if you haven't been there, when they open it up for an open house, you should go and visit. It's amazing the opportunities that students receive by being able to go to that CTC and being run by Gary Martell. It does a great job. The threats that they listed for external threats, lack of resources for our families, students, and staff, specifically in the area of mental health. So around our area, it's hard to get some support and counseling, and there's usually a waiting list for that if you're unaware of that. The other threat that they felt hurts our district is distractions of misinformation on social media. The declining and aging population within our landlocked area, and then other options for families to choose, cyber schools, border schools, and what that leaves the community perception. So we're going to work through all of those pieces, but I wanted to update the board and the community as to where we are in the strategic comprehensive planning process, and I will continue to do that. Our next step as a team is to push out the needs assessment, to have as many people take that as possible, analyze the results of that survey, which should be coming out in December, because we want to come back together. I think it's the second Wednesday in January to move forward with our next steps. So thank you for the affirmation, second week of January. I think that's what it is. So the other thing I have on my list is before Thanksgiving, we have the National Honor Society induction ceremony. It's one of my favorite nights of the year to have that happen, and I want to thank Mrs. Short and Mrs. Schreiber for putting together a wonderful evening for our students. It was right here on this stage. And most impressive was that the students of the National Honor Society ran the entire event. They called the speakers forward, they ran the event, they had the signing of the book, they pinned the students, so the lighting of the candle, the whole process happened. So the current members welcomed 12 or 13 new members, so we have more than 24 students that are in the National Honor Society, so that's great for our school district. And then the Community Relations Committee I had mentioned earlier, and then Mr. Hendrick also said about the flexible professional development days. So last year I proposed an idea to have flexible professional development days for teachers to choose. They could come to school today and do the 6 hours of work, which was all online, or they could do it ahead of time and turn their certificates in, have credit for it, and then be able to be off today because it was turned in early. I would say to you that I think there were 5 staff members by their own choice to want to come in today. But everybody else had done it and taken care of it. We sent little reminders out with links so that they can be reminded of what needs to be done. And most of the training that they're doing is the mandatory training by the state. There are 2 hours of safety training from PCCD. There's structured literacy that every teacher, including administration, myself, Mrs. Morrell, Mrs. Ely, Mr. Hendrick need to take, and Mrs. Dr. Tejan as well, for structured literacy in order to hold our teaching certificates. So if I want to maintain my elementary certificate, I have to take that training as well. Trauma informed is a state mandate. The ethics course every educator must take as well at the state level. There's a PSSA training that everyone has to take online in addition to what they receive in person. Suicide awareness, 4 hours every 5 years that has to be done. So we did 2 of those hours this year. And then on January 3rd, which is the Friday before the students come back, will be another professional development day, and so it's flexible, and teachers for those 6 hours will be able to do the PSSA online training or the AI training, and that's something that we selected in order to move forward with AI. Unless they have one of those structured literacy requirements, then they get that time to do that and don't have to do the AI one. So we'll see what comes in. They're already flowing in for the January date. I bet 20 to 25 of our educators already have those done and turned them into Tammy today. So I appreciate all the work that they're doing beyond that. Our next meeting will be on Monday, January 6th at 7 p.m. in high school. I know it's not listed on our agenda, and that's because we didn't approve the calendar yet, so I wanted to mention that. And please check out our calendar because we have a couple holiday concerts coming up, and it'd be nice to have you in the audience to listen to our students and all the hard work that they've been doing, and they'll perform for us. Our music teachers continue to do an outstanding job. I don't have the dates, but I'm sure someone will look them up as long as I keep talking and give them time and slow
The
my...
10th at 7 p.m. is 5th and 6th grade, and then the 12th, which is
So the
Thursday.
10th is 5th and 6th grade at Snyder or here?
Here.
Here, okay.
And then 2 nights later on the 12th.
On the 12th?
is 7 through 12, also here.
All right, 7 through 12 on the 12th. Perfect. All right, and then I have my National Superintendent Certification Program that I wanted to go through. Oh, and Mr. Howie has it up on the screen and ready to go for me. So I wanted to share, better move this, hold on. So I wanted to share with the board, I started this process actually in the fall of 22. I came to the board and asked for permission to attend the National Certification Program. It is a 2-year process. It started in February of 23 for the first one, and there are 13 modules that we worked through. So I'm going to do a little highlight here, maybe. So just push the arrow, right?
You have to slide it on the side first.
Slide it on the side first.
Turn it green by the way.
Technology challenged I am, I'm going to tell you. Sorry, Mr. Howie.
It's okay, on the side, there should be a little slide. If you slide it so the green is showing,
Oh,
it should vibrate in your
and
hand.
it vibrated in my hand.
There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I need to have my glasses on. So there are a set of ethics and professional norms for a future-ready superintendent. I certainly am not going to read this information to you. You all have it in your packet, and it will be available. I will push this out and put it on the website as well for people to review if they'd like to do that. There are certain components that I certainly will go a little bit more in depth to, but I do not need to read the norms that we all abided by. Module 2 was promoting equity and cultural responsiveness, building a shared vision of student success and well-being. And so we had to examine underrepresented populations. So thinking about, points of advice, students in poverty, there's a variety of underrepresented populations that we need to continually think about to make sure that we're providing an equitable cultural experience for and be responsive to that. Prioritizing equity as a transformational leader. And so I actually have a little picture for equity. If you could click on that for me, Mr. Howe. You didn't know you were going to be my sidekick tonight, but thank you. And this is the easiest way because a lot of people think of the word equity and equal being the same. And so I always go to this picture. If you'll scroll up, I think Dr. Teacher likes this picture as well. She and I talked about it in my first year that's here. So if you think of the word equity and equals, right there. So equal, everybody gets the same thing. We should have the mindset of fair is not equal. Fair is giving each person what he or she needs. So on the left side, equal. Everybody gets the same size box. But as you can see, the little guy in the purple shirt still cannot see the baseball game because he's behind that fence line, right? And so really the first gentleman in the blue shirt doesn't need a box at all, but the other two need different size boxes. So that's what it is about equity, and we need to think about that when we're making decisions and choices for the students that we serve. So there's a difference between equal and equity. Then we talked a lot about vulnerability, right? And when we think about vulnerability, to the digital divide, access to technology and services, the curriculum controversies that are out there, overrepresentation in discipline, overrepresentation in special education, the costs and fees that are associated with opportunity. So those are the things that we did a deep dive into for Module 2. In Module 3, it was a vision for educational leadership. So attributes for a successful superintendent. We did a lot with the Hanover research, developing resilient, nimble leaders. We talked about the vision for educational leadership, and then that transformational leadership that happens, transforming over time based on the students that you're serving. Articulating a vision as a superintendent for your students to be successful, and a vision and perspective on leadership, right? Education being reimagined over the course of time to make sure that you're being responsive for the students that you serve. For Module 4, the superintendent and board relations, policies and procedures. So the board president and the superintendent's leadership team, having a connection and moving forward to be productive. School board and the role of the superintendent. You know, the school board oversees that policy and procedural pieces of that, making sure that finance, and you hire the superintendent to do management, the CEO of the school district itself. Fostering and sustaining a strong board of education and superintendent relationship, continuing to grow as individuals and collectively as a full team. Interaction with the district legal services. We had a long talk about, you know, conversation. Every time you pick up that phone and call Chris Lance and or Mike McAuliffe down at Eckerd Siemens for legal advice, it does cost money, and so we need to make sure that we are, you know, doing that diligently, making sure we're calling for specific reasons, and making sure that we are providing legal services back to the district so that we're making decisions that are strong for us for our future. Module 5 was the superintendent and the district's communication plan. This was probably one of those ones that I'm going to dive deeper into, as that's one of my goals for this year, and developing that plan and going back. And so I think I will use a lot of the research that we talked about during Module 5. It was about strategic communication and essential components of the district's communication plan. And communication is just not one way. It's not sending information out. So I think, you know, we had a long conversation at the table when we had the trainings and we went on and we were able to list things that we do in our district. And so you get ideas from other superintendents that's working well. And I also got to share ideas. And it really makes somebody happy when someone hears an idea that you've put in place and that they then take that opportunity to put in place at their district. And so sometimes I wonder if the communication plan is too, to make sure that people know all the facets in which communication happens within our district. It's just not sending letters out, producing newsletters. Those are all very important. But the opportunity to sit and have dialogue. So when the stakeholders came together for the comprehensive strategic plan meeting, that's a time for communication. We got a lot of information when we talked about the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities and threats. Every month, I hold a topic Tuesday. It's on the calendar. Once it's here, and then the next month it's over at Snyder. And that's open to every single employee in this school district. They're invited to come at the table, meet, have conversation about ideas, difficulties they're working through, answers they'd like to have, share an idea, any of those things. Another communication that happens here is peer advisory. We started that here a couple of years ago on a January, if I remember correctly. And I still hold that on the last Wednesday of every month in the high school cafeteria. It's open to the entire parent group here at Sayre School District that parents can come. And there are at least 5 parents that have come on a regular basis, and then some come periodically and some don't. It's just an opportunity to sit down for an hour and have conversation on any topic that they want to bring forward.
Joe, what's your average staff attendance?
So sometimes it's 0. Last Tuesday it was 0, but the time before that it was 3. And so I think it depends on what it is that they're walking through and what it is that they have going on. There are other individuals, like for example today, someone just called me on my cell phone. So I make sure that staff knows. Everyone has access to my cell number. I gave it out my first year, and it's the only number that's in the directory. So I think that's the other important part to talk about. Some teachers won't wait for Topic Tuesday, or employees, they just come to my office and see me. And the rule of thumb is if I'm not on the phone or meeting with somebody, I stop what I'm doing and to have that conversation, whatever it might be about. So that happens. I had a teacher from Snyder stop over last Tuesday to drop something off, and took 7 minutes, and we had some conversation about something else. So I think there's multiple ways to happen. That one is not attended as often as I would like it to be, but it's still going to be there as an option, always. Crisis communication. We're lucky in the state of Pennsylvania. PSBA purchases into crisis communication with a group that has presented at the school leadership conference that happens in October. I was a part of that presentation because I've used that service over my 5 years here. So that's and they are open 24/7. I can get Liam Goldwick on the phone at any point in time. So if there's something going on and we need to send a message or communications out, and that's what they do. They write them, send them to you, you put them together, or you zhuzh them a little bit, if that's a technical word, zhuzh, to put that out there for the crisis communication. And then communication tools, website, social media, email, all of those. And I go back to one of the weaknesses or threats that we had, the misinformation that's out there, or somebody that posts something on social media that's misinformation. And then marketing, I think that's an area in which we are not spending a lot of time on. That is something we're going to dig into a little bit deeper. So I think we do need to go back to the first bullet. An essential component of a district's communication plan is to have a full comprehensive plan that's put together, that's in writing and ready to go. So as that's one of my goals this year, I'm hoping to have that ready to roll and present that to the board in the spring. All right, module number 6. Organizational culture building, promoting a shared vision for quality teaching and learning. So they really had a conversation around culture first, then aligning strategy for action. It's a shifting mindset that has to happen in order to lead change. Change is hard for people to make. And so that's a process that we have to work through. And it's the superintendent's role in shaping that culture. It's not the full sole responsibility of, but there is a role in which that happens. And a part of that comes from, they had this process called Leaders Rounding. And I did have a training and conversation, or not maybe training, but conversation with the administrative team. It's really about doing a Leaders Rounding that happens with your direct reports, and then them doing it with their direct reports, and so on and so forth. So we're building an entire climate and culture around that process. And then meeting for impact. Improve the flow of communication should be a topic of conversation that happens at most meetings. And then leadership versus management, right? Lead versus management is a process that needs to be focused on, and more so on the leadership end. In Module 7, we talked about engaging families and stakeholders, inclusive of businesses, government agencies, and the community. So we had a really good presenter, Dr. Sherry Campbell, who happens to be a superintendent at Baldwin School District. That's out in the Long Island area. So having been able to attend the national certification program, I met superintendents from the state of Washington the whole way to Long Island, the whole way from Nevada down south in Alabama, out in Illinois. So it was quite a group of 25, and we all were in the program the entire time. So it was nice to make those contacts and be able to have contributions made from across the nation as a whole. You know, and oftentimes we don't think about, you know, engaging families and stakeholders to be inclusive of business owners and government agencies, in addition to the parents that serve within our school districts as well. And so effective superintendents, they will engage families, stakeholders, community in a meaningful way that's reciprocal and mutually beneficial. And so Mr. Claypool and I have been throwing around a couple of things, and so we're going to have a meeting next week with somebody within the community setting to help us move forward with another entity, hopefully, that will benefit our student body, which should always be at the forefront of what we're working on. Module 8 was about the superintendent as the instructional leader, building a community of care and support, right? And I used to, you know, I would say to myself as a former building principal, trying to be that instructional leader, and I leaned into that because of my former role as an instructional coach. And so I have that, I just feel like I'm always in that teaching mode, more so than in a management role. An instructional leader looking for ways to grow and move forward. I would say that one of the things that we've done really well here is the cycle of curriculum that we now have in place, and that we're reviewing a different set of curriculum every single year for our teachers so that they have the newest pieces that are out there that meet the standards of the state. I know this year is science. So we're working through that process. We did math last year, and the board supported and purchased a new math program. So we continue to look, and it was nice to have, I bet we had 10 educators around the table for that science meeting a couple of weeks ago, and that was nice to see. So the portrait of a graduate is something that could come from our strategic plan. And so there actually was it was nice to see they brought in speakers from across the nation. And it was a superintendent from Pennsylvania that I know, Brian Troop from Ephraidy, that came and went over the portrait of a graduate and went through that entire process with us. Educational leadership in changing and a technology-dominated world. As we know, everything is at the fingertips. And so we want to be very cognizant of how much technology we're using, but at the same time making sure we're using it in an effective manner. Curriculum, assessment, and instruction in the 21st century. We're almost a quarter of the way through that 21st century, so we need to make sure that we have those leading pieces for our school district, regardless of the size or the number of students that we serve. Our students deserve the best pieces of curriculum, technology, having the best teachers in front of them in the classroom setting. So we want to continue to move forward that in our educational environment and not forget about social, emotional learning, and mental health. And so if you think about all of the components that we've added over the last several years, due to Dr. Tejan's hard work and our principals, we have CSBBH in room 11 downstairs at our high school to provide services. We have a trauma therapist that comes in once a week from Children's House that's available. Our school counselors do a great job. We've partnered with Bradford County, and we have an outpatient therapist as well that is on board. Am I forgetting any ladies? And a therapy dog. And our therapy dog. That is very helpful. Module 9. The role of the superintendent in promoting the school system improvement process, right? Connecting our behavior to our purpose. So Pat Gretko, who's a senior director at Student Education, is a thought leader, and she does a lot of reflecting on culture first and then building in those strategy components, aligning our gratitude to living core values, and they review 9 principles of leading for educational excellence. And there's a book called Hardwiring Excellence into Education, and it probably will become a book study in the next few months for us at the administrative level. I got a couple extra copies while I was there. Nobody wanted to pay to ship them home, so I said I would take free books. I will always take free books. But hardwiring excellence into the educational process, right? A commitment to excellence, measuring the important things, building a culture around service, developing leaders to develop people, focusing on employee engagement, being accountable, aligning behaviors with goals, communicating at all levels, and recognizing and rewarding success. Question. Module 10 is addressing social, emotional, academic learning, building a community of care and support, frameworks for social, emotional, and academic learning, and blending of the two, taking care of the whole child, creating that social, emotional, intelligence schools. Module 11, building professional capacity and community in the learning organization. So when you think about the capacity building, right, building capacity in teacher leaders, teaching equity and high standards to principals and teachers, and having those professional learning communities. So when you think about the exemplar and diverse workplace, long-range succession plans, making sure we're overlapping so that training helps to move forward in those isolated places when you have a singleton. Action planning for talent development, building through that human resource, right? What is the role of human resource but to take care of the whole person that we have within, that we are employing? Attracting and retaining K-12 educators, building that workforce that's inclusive, belonging, and supporting high-performing teams, making sure that when we are recognizing those educators that are going above and beyond, that we're also supporting them as individuals and making sure that we're taking care of them as an individual to support the rest of the team. Challenges in human resources come at all levels, and we have to be willing to tackle those as they come our way. And then recruitment and retention. Are we maximizing our processes to recruit and get in the talent that we want to be working with our student body? Module 12 was about operations and management. And as you know, we have work to do in the area of our operations, and we have a plan on that. It's been a succession, and we talked about that at Building and Grounds at our last meeting that just happened in November. Managing the system and the school resources that we have, shifting resources strategically so that we plan appropriately and have those long-range plans, identifying opportunities to shift those resources if necessary when something happens within a building. And then really the competing demands and tight budgets that happen. Can we stay within the budget that we've set forth and still make progress for our student body? And then the last one, but certainly not the least, but the last module that we had, Module 13, was about legislative advocacy. I would say that I didn't spend a lot of time on this the first 3 years as a superintendent, but I've spent a little bit more time in this area and connecting with commissioners and, you know, legislators that are out there and getting to know who they are and what feeds them and how they can help us as a school system. And it's important that we are advocates as a whole. And there was also a level within this training that there's an importance that we as a school board and a team of 10 work collectively together to make sure that we have those points that what I'm working on is what you want me to be working on as I advocate for with legislation to make sure we're bringing that back to our community and our region. And that it lines up with our annual budget. Anybody have any questions? I know that was a lot of information. It was 13 modules, it was a lot of work. I know it's probably one of my longest reports, Mr. Cole, sorry.
And thank you, Dr. Delosio. And on that note, again, as Dr. Delosio mentioned, our next board meeting is January 6th, 7 p.m. here in the high school auditorium. And before we go to adjourn, I just want to wish everyone a great Christmas season. Hopefully, a very healthy and happy New Year.
And before you offer the adjournment, I also want to just once again say thank you to the board for the support of me being able to go to the program and acquiring the national certification certificate. I appreciate that greatly. I will continue to learn and grow as an individual and a professional, so thank you for that support.
Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.